Hello, everyone. Welcome to the All Things Good podcast. I'm your coach and your host, Giovanna Cirillo. Today, we're going to be talking about grieving. We're going to be talking about grieving from the male perspective. I truly believe that men and women grieve differently. And though grief hits us all the same, we process it just a tad bit differently. So, today, we're going to be talking to Daniel Ratchford, who is a CEO and founder of Broreavement nonprofit organization, which is centered on helping men and children of color process their emotions and grief through different activities. Help me by welcoming Daniel Ratchford. Hello, Daniel. How are you today?
I'm doing well, Giovanna. Busy, but I'm doing well. Putting in the work, trying to help these men. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm excited to have you on because I want to talk on the topic of grief. And I felt like when you have put in the submission, I'm like, oh, this is perfect because there's so many people that are grieving and we just don't know how to help them, especially men. So I'm excited to have you on. Tell me about your nonprofit. What made you start the Bereavement nonprofit?
So, unfortunately, 16 years ago, my wife passed away. My wife, Medina. We both grew up in the Bronx together, and began to start a family. And within a month after my son was born, she fell ill. After she gave birth, like a month later, she had her spleen removed and they diagnosed her with a rare blood disorder. And what would happen was her blood would clot, and she would have different clots all over her body. So throughout 10 years of us being together, she had all different types of surgeries where they were removing these clots from her legs, her arms. She had strokes, heart attacks, all these different ailments. Yeah. And just leading up to her death, she actually had her legs amputated. So throughout those 10 years, my kids and I, we went through a lot of trauma, not knowing if she was going to be there from day to day. She would go from just a regular day, us hanging out at a restaurant or just hanging out in general. And then she would be like, I'm not feeling good. Bring me to the emergency room. And for 3 weeks, a month, 2 months, she would be in the hospital. So just living like that, not knowing, and the doctors not being able to actually cure her. They were just putting a band-aid on it with all the different surgeries. They couldn't figure out what was wrong. So just living with that. The kids, they would go to school and not know if mom was going to be there when they got home, how she was doing. So just all that anxiety. So eventually, after she passed away, you know, I had a lot of grief, a lot of things that I needed to deal with. My kids had a lot of grief. So me as the only parent, I'm trying to figure out, how do I help them? How do I help myself? And I have to admit, I didn't do the best job. I did what I could, but
Right.
you know, um, I I went to what most men go to, the drinking and the smoking and all the picking up all these unhealthy habits. Kind of led me down on a road where I just, I was doing anything possible to kind of numb myself. Gambling, pretty much everything you could think of, I was doing it, you know, and 16 years later, coming out of the fog of it, um,
Mhm.
decided, maybe I could help someone just by telling my story and letting them know, that there are other ways to cope with your grief. So we
Right.
started bereavement, and yeah, we're here today, putting in the work.
Wow. So, what exactly, how did you begin to implement your grief in a healthy way? Because I know you mentioned that you went through the toxic route, but what about the healthy way? And how did you how did that help you for that time?
Yeah, literally one day I woke up, after losing a job that I had had for 19, 20 years, and, you know, kind of being rock bottom and just like, all right, like what, life is better than this, you know, instead of being like in the hamster wheel, just, you know, waking up every day, going to work, coming home, smoking, drinking, and then rinse and repeat, you know, instead of living like that, like I said to myself, life is better than this, you know. I was gonna try to live not just for like the length and try to live as long as possible, but I was gonna live for the width of it and just try to fill up um my life with helping people and creating memories and just creating something that was going to live on, you know. So
Right.
that was the start of it. And I was literally sitting in an Uber, you know, talking to a young lady about just my life experiences I had, and she was like, why don't you write some of that stuff down? That's really good. Like you seem like you had an interesting life. Write it down. So I began journaling, you know, picking up just in my phone, just writing in my notes. And I got to a point where I was ready to share it. And
Mhm.
I had a group of friends, you know, everybody had their group chats during COVID. So we would
Yeah.
go back and forth talking for hours or texting for hours about rap music, about sports, you know. So I was like, you know what, let's see how this goes. And I was like, listen, I put together something, I'm working on something. What do you guys think of this? And out of the 10 guys that were on that group chat, one read it and was like, wow, this is amazing. Keep on going. You know, I don't know if the guys on the chat um I don't know how they felt about it. You know, I don't
Mhm.
even know if they knew how to react to it. You know, just we all came from the '90s rap music. You know, just trying to
Mhm.
be as hard as
Right.
possible. You know what I mean? So, you know, these are guys who I've grown up with through junior high school all the way through our 30s and 40s. So, you know, I know they love me. We've done stuff together, but I don't think they knew how to react to it. So just having that one person tell me that, yo, this is good stuff, you know, it gave me confidence, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna keep on going. So I kept on writing and sharing it with family, with friends, and eventually someone was like, why don't you start a nonprofit? Like, this sounds like a great idea. And everything just came together, and we're here 2 years later having events and just showing men healthy ways.
That's awesome. So you implemented the process of journaling, and through that, your a whole vision and organization came about. That's
Yes.
amazing. And
Thank
you
you.
talk about you brought it up to a couple of your male friends, and only one of them responded. So that brings me to my next question.
Mhm.
How do men grieve? How is it different for women? Because in my perspective, I believe it's different.
So men typically we grieve the same way you guys grieve, but you know, instead of the outward where we're crying, you know, we I know you've heard of the statement suffer in silence.
Yes.
Most of the times we that's what we do. We suffer in silence. You know, we put our head down and go to work and just think that just by doing physical activity, you know, eventually we'll start to feel better. um Never really works, you know. Like I believe now that being able to be around community and talking about some of the things that are going on is the best way. But us guys, we we don't grieve outwardly. The crying doesn't really happen, and if it does, it's usually not in front of people. We're looked at to be, you know, the strong one in the family. So we're more worried about helping everyone else, you know, and then when we need help, you know, we don't know where to look for it. You know, we don't want to look
Right.
at to be looked at as the weak one. So yeah, there's a lot of stigma that's involved and ego. So yeah.
Right. And it's insane to me because I see women, like I know someone who actually went through the process. He just recently lost his wife. I mean, out of I don't even know how many years, and it hit him so hard. And he just puts everything into his work. And I have to tell him, like, you have to slow down. Like, that's
Yeah.
not the only way. And
Yeah.
he had mentioned something to me that was very profound. He said, it's different for women who grieve and it's different for men because women tend to have more friends. But
This is
men, they tend to be, all about their work and they're living their lives, trying to provide for their household, but they never really have a friend group. So how important is an actual group, a community of men who can support you?
so the name of the organization is called Broreavement. So the premise around it is to create a brotherhood. So when we throw these events, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a priest, so we go out there, we're a support group, and we try to build that brotherhood where guys could come in and just have conversations, and you look over to your left and you see a guy who looks like you, who is going through something similar. I think that is the way a lot of us are healing, just to be able to know that you're not going through things alone is
Right.
important. A lot of times, when I know when I first started saying my story, a lot of people kind of looked at it as, wow, I didn't even know you were going through all of that stuff,
Mm.
and just being able to share it, um it gets out, it gets out a lot of the emotions that you have inside. And yeah, yeah, definitely community and building that brotherhood is important. I would suggest to your coworker, like, if you don't deal with your grief, your grief is going to deal with you eventually. You're going to hit that wall, and if you don't have someone solid around you to talk to, um
Mhm.
it's going to be not good for you at all. So
Right.
yeah.
And you know what? Like just looking at from when she passed away just November
Hmm.
of last year. And looking at his progress now, he has slowed down. Like even just like he won't answer as many calls. He won't, he's not as available as he was before, where he would just answer every call. And I'm just like, you don't have to answer the call. I understand that this is a company that you have to run, but if you don't have to answer the phone, that's why I'm here, right? So
That's
he has slowed down,
what
and
we tend to do.
I'm
That's what
sorry.
we tend. That's what we tend to do. Just work. I know. After my wife passed, I was back at work 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, and I
Yeah.
worked. I worked in a pharmacy, and how the music they would play like old R&B and love songs, and I was miserable. I was listening
Mhm.
to these songs like, oh my gosh, and expected to be happy and customer service, and so a lot of times I had a smile on my face and just trying to work through things, and inside I was broken, waiting for someone to kind of cross me so I could, let out some of that anger. But it definitely wasn't a healthy way of living. So yeah, we're trying to
So what
teach
is
people.
I'm sorry.
No, no, no.
What
Go
are
ahead.
common misconceptions about men who grieve?
Um, like we were talking about earlier, if you don't see a man crying, after a loss, that doesn't mean that they're still not grieving. Like, we're kind of looked at to grieve real quick and then just move on, and be okay. And a lot of times, there's no stopwatch or a clock to this thing, and people
Right.
grieve on their own time. So yeah, just if you are around someone who has suffered a loss, especially a man, you should allow them to grieve in their own way. Don't pressure them to talk. Kind of ask open-ended questions, um more, instead of how are you feeling, maybe how can I support you, would be an open-ended question, just to get the conversation started. And if they don't want to talk, it's all right, it's okay. Like, just give them time and just be there for them. It is important.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question because we need to know as women, as just a community, how to be there for those who grieve, not just men, but women as well. And sometimes it's like we can try our best to say something or, do something that we think will be beneficial for this person. But in reality, it's like some things just don't help, right? There ever a time where you felt like people were coming up to you and trying to console you once they found out? So once you have spoken about the loss of your wife and you decided to actually let it out, and you were still in the process of grieving, did anyone ever come to you and try to console you and it just didn't work? Because there's times that I've seen that where, and even for myself, like I lost a grandmother, I mean, years ago, still to this day, the grieving comes here and there. But at that time, it was just like no one could say anything to make it better. You know what I mean? And it's like we go through those moments where everyone just wants to say something, but sometimes is it better just to just be there instead of saying something?
This is what I've learned. Letting people, instead of trying to be that person to make your loved one who's going through the grief laugh and be happy. It's better to just let them go through it. Like if you love a person and you lose a person, you're gonna go through pain and all of the mask that we put on, to kind of make people feel better. You know,
Right.
it's not effective at all. Like
Mm.
I my my current wife, we actually just got married a couple of months ago,
Oh,
and she
congratulations.
she thank you. She recently lost her mom, and I am hurting for her. Her mom was her best friend. So when we have conversations, I don't try to cheer her up. I sit and I listen. I ask her how I can help her. But trying to make her laugh and just joking with her, like, no, that's not my job. My job is to be there and give her exactly what she needs from me, and me just being there and asking what she needs is, I believe, is the best medicine. Like it's not our job to make people feel happy. We're human. We're supposed to go through all these emotions in life. Death is it's just a natural emotion. We're all gonna go through it. So like I believe to get to the other side where you're healing, you have to go
Mhm.
through that hurt, that feeling where, like where you just feel like nothing is gonna be able to help me. And once you get to the other side of it, eventually those experiences that you think about and that make you cry will eventually, you'll feel better about it, and hopefully those memories will make you laugh and smile. Like there becomes a point where you kind of cross that line, and those memories are things that are positive for you.
Right, right, right. I remember saying that to this person. I said, at one point you're gonna have to take those memories and not make them sad, but rewrite those memories, make them to a place where they actually brought you joy, where they
Yes.
brought you happiness. You did what you could, because sometimes I feel like people think that they didn't do enough, and it's like we can only do what we can do, right?
Yeah.
Anything outside of that is outside of our hands. We're not God.
I lived with just a lot of regret around Medina passing. Like, I tried, and I'm not perfect. I tried to be the best husband I possibly could, but I was young, and I was going through a lot of things too. So I look back on those times, that could have been spent in better ways, and I just wish I could have it back. But things, you learn to live with those regrets, and improve on them. Just one story, like I remember the day that Medina passed away. Our routine was get the kids to school. After the kids are at school, come to the hospital, and just make sure I'm good. So the day that she passed, I got the kids to school, and after I did that, I was on the way to the hospital. I was like, you know what? I know I'm gonna be here all day. Let me stop and get a hot chocolate, and just take a deep breath. And I stopped. By the time I got to the hospital, she had already passed. So for years and years, I kind of lived with just the regret, just saying, damn, I should have been there. Maybe if I didn't stop, but through therapy, my therapist, I'm telling her about this experience, and she was like, maybe she didn't want you there. Maybe,
Right.
why do you think you needed to be there? Like, maybe she knew you couldn't handle it. Maybe she wanted to be by herself, maybe she knew and didn't want you there. So, don't take it so hard. And I think just hearing that, was very beneficial for me. I am a proponent of therapy. I know in our community, therapy is not looked at, especially among men. Men don't want to go to people or pay anyone for them to hear their problems, but I think it is very therapeutic. I suggest it to all my friends. If you're feeling good, if you're not feeling good, it's definitely something that you should do. Just I, the relationship I have with my therapist, they kind of give me advice, things that I'm not even thinking about. Like sometimes you can have that tunnel vision, and just being around a good therapist, they can give you direction, just things that you're not even thinking about. So I suggest.
Right.
Mhm.
Awesome. So now that you have spoken about your history, let's talk about the nonprofit organization. What do you do to help them, help these men and children, guys? It's not just men, it's children as well. And you have to think about this. We're talking to my listeners. You have to think about this. These are men and children, boys coming to a location to be helped with their grieving, to help them process their grieving and help them process their emotions. This is big. Like to me, it's a big thing because we are known for, men are known for not being able to process those things. And like you said, suppressing them, operating in silence, moving in silence. But now they're actually seeking help. They're actually putting in the work. And to me, that's amazing. Tell me about that. Tell me about your organization. What do you do? What programs do you have implemented?
So at Broreavement, we are teaching men healthy coping skills. So we've set up different classes to bring the guys in. So we have meditation classes, we offer cooking classes, art classes, all different types of activities, healthy activities. And then when the guys are there, we're building the camaraderie, the brotherhood, and then behind the activity we start a conversation. We'll ask a question about grief, about loss, and about how you're healing from your loss. And usually the conversations, they just take off. Guys, there are no spaces, there are no safe spaces for guys where guys can come in and they're not being judged, and they have no fear that the conversations that are had in the room are going to get out. So when the guys come into these spaces and the conversation starts, they is a lot of emotion, a lot of venting that comes out, and it's just usually the person sitting next to you is going through something similar. So,
Okay.
sometimes they give advice. Sometimes they just tell about their story, and this is what happened when I did this, and it'll kind of give you, just an insight to what to expect. And these are all things that I was looking for.
Mm.
Like after my wife passed, I was in a space where I was looking for a mentor. I was looking for just a space to go to, and I couldn't find it. I was introduced to people who were all good people, but who couldn't relate to me. They were older, they didn't look like me, they didn't come from where I came from.
Right.
So they couldn't understand really what I was going through. So we created it, like we created a space where guys could come in and learn a healthy coping skills, something when they are stressed or they're feeling depressed, or they're feeling that grief coming on. They can go to it in their own house. Like you could pull up a recipe, something that we've cooked, and make something. You could go to like go get a canvas and put your feelings on a canvas. We recently had an art class where we had guys pick out a song that makes you feel some sort of emotion, where
Mhm.
that makes you think of your loved one, and we had them paint that song. So, just things that you can do at home, just to give a little bit of therapy to yourself, without
Right.
going to the therapist. We look at ourselves as like that bridge in order
Mhm.
to get the guys to the resources that they need. So, yeah, that's yeah. Broreavement is my baby. So we've been building this thing up, and we have a lot of momentum going, and we're doing a lot of things, a lot of positive things in the community. So
That's awesome. I can see your face light up when you talk about it. That's amazing that you found something, you found your purpose in your pain. Like in your pain, you found your purpose. And that's amazing. So, give me a good story about someone who's entered into your organization and you're seeing the progress already. Like, do you have a story that you can share?
I do. So I was in my car one day listening to Sway in the morning, and there was a young man who went. He called up the radio, and he was telling his story about his son and how he lost his son, and he gave out his information, like his social media stuff. So I hit him up on social media. I knew he lived in the New York, New Jersey area, so I hit him up and was like, "Yo, listen, this is what we're doing. I don't know if this fits on what you want to do, but you're invited."
Mhm.
This man came all the way from Long Island, all the way to New Jersey to experience one of our cooking classes, and now he is a regular. He shows up whenever we have classes. He comes out and experiences, like he's a staple in our classes now. um whenever we're doing everything, like I kind of look at him as as a brother. He'll hit me up and just talk about things. And recently he started his own nonprofit, to put out his cause. His son died by suicide. So, he has an organization that talks about suicide, another stigma in our community that we usually don't talk about, like. And I'm just so proud of him that he, like what you said, he's taken his pain and turned it into something positive. I think a lot of us men need that. We need to figure out ways, instead of walking around angry and just living in silence, like with all of that pain inside of you. Just figuring out how to turn that into something positive is important.
Right. That's awesome that you actually reach out to this person. You said, you know what, I'm gonna give this person a call and see what happens. That's beautiful because it just shows that you're passionate. Like you don't want just one soul to be lost
Yeah,
in this process of grief because it can be very detrimental.
yeah.
I mean, it can be very painful to people. So I can only imagine. So I really commend you for that.
I live with this. I go to sleep thinking about it. I wake up thinking about it. This is something I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life. I already know it. So, I just try to bring it to any man that I come across, and just talking to men, I can see they're living with so much pain, and, but I don't force it. Like men come to me whenever they're ready. Like they come whenever they're ready. I think that's a key to starting your healing process. You have to be ready for it. I went through 13, 14 years of just being, just trying to hide it, trying to act like everything was good, until I realized, no, I needed to heal myself in order to be able to help my family and just people around me.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. So tell us, Daniel, do you have any last words for those who are going through the process of grief? And remember, guys, it's not just grieving through a loss of, a loved one. It can be family. I mean, it can be through a job. It can be through, a position. Loss comes in many formats, a relationship.
Mhm.
So what words do you have for those who are going through the process of grief?
I'm gonna go back to a little what we said earlier. Like, fellas, if you don't deal with your grief is gonna deal with you. Like, if you keep these emotions pent up and you're not able to find an outlet, something healthy that you're able to let these emotions out, it's gonna eat you away slowly. So I suggest, if you're not able to come to one of our events, like, find something that you enjoy doing, find something that you're able to put your emotions out and be vulnerable. Like, I think that's a big part of just being a human being. Like, a lot of us guys, we walk around um just emotionless, like walking around like we're not human, and like we're supposed to feel. We've been put
Right.
on this earth to go through these emotions, and you're supposed to feel. I know I grew up heavy with the 90s rap, and I'm big, I'm bad, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, but like, is that the way we really want to live? Like,
Right.
I've hit that point in my life. So I suggest, it's okay to feel. Yeah.
Yes, it is okay to feel, and
Mhm.
you're not considered weak if you begin to express those emotions, because that's a
Mhm.
big thing. Like, no one wants to look weak, but you don't want to be in that place of grieving, or not just grieving, because grieving is not a linear thing. It comes and goes. It comes in waves, is what I experience. But you don't want to stay in that place where you're just not building a community, where you're isolated, because there's no healing in that process.
Definitely not.
So Daniel, how can we find your organization? What are you up to? What's next? Tell us more about that.
So we have been super, super busy. We're holding events pretty much every weekend. We have something going on. Um, so you can find us on social media, Instagram mostly, but we have a Facebook too, Broreavement. And also, the big thing that we're working to now, April 13th, we are having a suit drive for a prom for the young men who are graduating and moving on to college. We're having a drive right now, and then we're gonna present the young men with suits that they can wear to prom. But we've taken this idea and actually had conversations with Macys, and they decided to partner with us and challenged us to have a fundraiser and raise $5,000. And if we do that, they were going to match our donations and create like a pop-up store for the kids to come in and actually get brand new suits and shoes, and they're going to have stylists there, and just to make an awesome experience out of this. So we're trying to hit that goal, and even go beyond it, because I know, especially with my kids, when after I lost my wife, like I talk to my kids now, and it's like, did the guidance counselors talk to you guys about like grief, and are you healing? And it was sort of like it wasn't there for them, so I know things have changed a little bit, but we're just trying to be there for the kids who have had a hard time through high school, with loss, divorce, homelessness. We're just trying to give those kids an awesome experience. So yeah, this is the big thing. I believe this is going to be something that we do yearly. So this is the first time we're doing this, and we're just trying to make it as special as possible. So if you are able to donate, please donate. I'll give you all the information where you can donate to.
Actually, I have that video of the fundraiser, and I'm going to share that now so that they can see what you are actually doing. Here it goes.
Imagine missing out on one of the most memorable nights of your life just because you couldn't afford a suit.
My name is Daniel, and I'm from Broreavement. We are an organization dedicated to supporting men and boys, especially men and boys of color, through grief and bereavement. We create a brotherhood and help them heal. At Broreavement, we support young men who have faced grief and hardship. This year, we're hosting a prom suit drive to make sure these young men feel seen, celebrated, and confident on their big night.
Macys has challenged us to raise $5,000, and if we hit that goal, they will match our donations, doubling the impact and creating an unforgettable pop-up shopping experience.
You can support in more ways than one. Not only can you donate, but we have hats, t-shirts, and tote bags available for purchase. Every dollar brings us closer to our goal and helps make this event a reality. This isn't just about suits, it's about dignity, confidence, and celebrating resilience. These young men have faced loss and challenges most of us can't imagine. Let's show them that they're not alone.
Your donation, big or small, and every purchase from our store brings us one step closer to giving these young men a night they'll never forget. Click the link, donate, or grab some merch and be a part of something special. Let's make prom possible. Let's make a difference. Donate or shop today.
Appreciate you allowing me to come on your platform and talk about Broreavement for a little bit. I really appreciate it. It's special. You know, I never thought that I would be on a podcast talking about anything, you know, definitely social media. I am not a social media person like this, but to be able to come on here and, you know I'm the face of the organization, and, you know, I just appreciate you allowing me to come on and talk about my baby.
Thank you, Daniel. I think that's amazing. I hope and pray that your fundraiser reaches a lot of success, because I think that's beautiful to have a pop-up store where they can go and buy brand. That's beautiful. So I wish you tons of success. I will definitely provide the link for that, and I will definitely be sewing into that myself. It's tax season, guys. It's tax season. I don't want to hear nothing. There's no excuses. You can show us some money.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah. Sure.
What I'm finding is that women are the key to everything that we're doing. You guys are a little ahead of us as far as like this mental health journey and just being in that space. So I'm finding out that women are the ones who are pushing their husbands, their fathers, their sons to us. Mm-hmm. So if you guys could hear my voice, definitely let your men know about what we're doing. You know, like this is we're centralized in New Jersey right now, but in the future, the goal for me is to be able to spread this nationally and just have different spaces throughout the country where men can come to and start to heal a little bit. So women, please let your men know about what we're doing. And if we're not in your area, you know, maybe suggest to them, you know, just different healthy activities where they can gain some sort of healing. You know, you guys are the key. You guys are the ones who usually suggest. In a couple of my events, I've had guys, you know, halfway through the light bulb goes on, like, oh, this is why she told me to come to this cooking class. So I appreciate everything that you women do. And once again, thank you, Giovanna, for allowing me to come on and talk about Broreavement.
No problem, Daniel. Thank you so much for sharing. And I will definitely be posting that fundraiser and anything else you want me to do. Let me know.
I will. Thank you.
Have a good day. Thank you.